Now we are gonna set up the typology of our neural network itself. So that's what neural net here does. And as we said in the slides, you can define these fancy neural networks as just simple matrix multiplication and addition function. It's right. So we will start off by saying tf dot mul, that's just a matrix multiplication of our input neurons, which is the raw 784 pixel values with the 512 weights in our hidden layer of neurons there. So that matrix multiplication is multiplying each one of those input values by the weights in that hidden layer. Sorry, we then tf dot add to add in the biased terms, and which again are stored in the b variable that we just defined above. Next we need to apply a sigmoid function to the output of that hidden layer. So that's basically the activation function on each hidden neuron. That's all what's happening there, very simple. The output layer will do it again. So we'll say do a matrix multiplication with our output weights and the hidden layer, and then we will add in those output biases at the end as well, and we will call softmax to actually normalize those output neurons to a final probability of each individual classification. So softmax again is just a mathematical trick for taking the outputs of these neural networks and converting those output neuron values to what we can interpret as a probability of each individual classification that those neurons represent being correct. Go ahead and execute that, and that's quick as well. Again, remember, all we are doing is defining our graph at this point. We are not actually running anything yet, but yeah, do take the time to noodle on that. We have basically constructed the typology of the neural network itself. The next thing we then need to do is figure out how to actually train this neural network, right? So again, we are doing this the hard way, so we have to write this by hand. Well, let's start by defining our loss function, and it's called cross entropy. Basically, it's a way of doing gradient descent. It's supplying a logarithmic scale, and that has the effect of penalizing incorrect classifications much more than ones that are close to the correct answer. That's a handy property for making training go quickly. So within this function, we will gonna pass in two things. Y-pred is the predicted values that are coming out of our neural network, and Y-true are the known true labels that are associated with each image. So we have to talk about one hot encoding at this point. We talk about this when we talk about feature engineering in the course, but in order to compare that known value, that known label, which is a number from 0 to 9, to the output of this neural network. You remember the output of the neural network is actually 10 different neurons, where each one represents the probability of a given classification to actually compare that to the known correct value. We need to convert that known correct number to a similar format. So we are going to use one hot encoding. It's best understood with an example. So let's say that we know that the answer for the known correct label for an image is 1. We would one hot encode that as a 10 value array. Here we have each value represent the probability of that given classification. Since we know with 10%, 100% certainty that this image was a 1, we can say that for the classification 0, there is a 0% chances of that. For the classification 1, there is a 100% chances of that, 1.0. And for 2, it's gonna be 0. For 3, it's 0, and so on. So that is one hot encoding. You are just creating a binary representation of an integer value, if you will. So the number 1 is representative as 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. Every one of those slots in the array there represents a different classification value. and this just makes it easier for the math to work out and to construct things. Alright, so we start off by encoding that known label to a one hot encoded array. We then do some clipping there to avoid some mathematical numerical issues that log 0, and then we can just compare that and compute the actual across entropy term by doing reduce sum to go across the entire set of all values within this batch. And using this logarithmic comparison, like we said, to actually do across entropy with that logarithmic property. So let's go ahead and shift enter to do that. Again, the key things here are reduced mean and reduced sum, which means we are going to apply this across the entire batch all at once. Right. Next, we need to find what's called an optimizer. In this case, we are going to use a stochastic. We have talked about that before, and we'll use our learning rate hyperparameter, which again will want to tune through experimental. So later on to define that optimizer, we need to write a function to actually run that optimization, and again with the lower level TensorFlow API, as we kind of have to do this a hard way, we are gonna use something called a gradient tape to actually do this automatically. What that's doing is, you can see here, it's actually calling our neural networks typology for our neural network. We are going to compute the lost function or across entropy function that we defined it above as well. So this is trying it all together and actually allowing us to optimize this neural network within this one function here. So not terribly important to understand what's going on here at a low level. You can kind of understand here through the comments. We are updating our variable as we go through each step, see the gradients, and then we update our weights and biases at each training step. So this code is what's computing new weights and biases through this. Again, this is gonna be a lot easier using the Keras higher level API. So right now we are just showing you this to give you an appreciation of what's going on under the hood. Let's go ahead and shift into that one as well. Alright, now we have everything we need. We have the topology of our neural networks defined. We have the variables defined for our weights and biases. We have a loss function defined, which is cross entropy, and we have an optimization function that ties it all together called a run optimization. Let's go ahead and start training this thing. So that's what's going on here. Oh, wait, one more thing. We need an accuracy metric as well. So a loss function is not enough. We also want to display the actual accuracy at each stage. To all this accuracy metric does is say it let's compare the actual maximum argument from each output array. That's going to correspond to our one hot encoded value and compare that to the one hot encoded known value that we had for that level. So this is just a way of saying we are gonna call reduce me to actually compute the accuracy of each individual prediction and average that across the entire data set. So that's what our accuracy matrix here does as well. Shift enter, and now we can actually kick it off. So you can see that we have done all that heavy lifting. Now it's fairly simple to actually do it. So for every training step, we are going to take a batch from our training data. Remember, we created those batches earlier on using a data set across the training steps. That's going to be 3000, I think we said it was. And for each batch, each step of training, we are gonna run optimization. So that's calling that one function that we have tied everything together to apply our optimization across our neural network and compute the optimal weights and biases at each step. And yeah, every 100 steps, that's what display step is. We will put our progress as we go. So at every 100 epoch, we will actually execute our neural network here on the current batch and get a set of predictions for that batch of 250 values there, and compute across entropy on that too. Get a snapshot of our current loss function and compute accuracy on that as well to actually get a metric of our accuracy at each step. So we can see this converges over time for every 100 steps throughout our 3000 training steps or epochs, if you will. Let's go ahead and tick that off. And this is where the action is happening. So this is gonna iterate over 1 over 3000 epochs, and we can see that accuracy changing as we go. It's kind of interesting to watch this because the accuracy is kind of fluctuating a little bit as we go off here. So you can tell this kind of like babysitting into little local minima here and working its way out of those and finding better solutions over time. But as it goes, it will start to converge on better and better values. So we start off with just an 84% accuracy. Right now we are up to about 94%, but it's still kind of all over the place. Let's give it some more time, pretty firmly in the 90s at this point. So that's good. 93 I had say. Up to 2000 epochs. Now remember, Ron gonna go up to 3000, and again you are just gonna have to watch this and see where it starts to converge to early stopping to figure out what point we actually stop getting an improvement. But you kind of have to eyeball it first to get a sense of how many airports you really need. We are almost there. And it looks like we are not going to do much better than 93% accuracy. So there we have it. We have over 300 airports. We ended up with an accuracy of 92.8%, and this is actually, remember, using our training data set. So there is a possibility that we are overfishing here to really evaluate how well this model does. We want to evaluate it on the test data set on data that is never seen before. So let's go ahead and use that test data set that we set aside at the beginning and run the neural network on it and actually call our accuracy function to see how well it does on test data, test images that it's never seen before. 93%, not too hard. I mean, we can do better, but for a very simple take at using TensorFlow and setting up a very simple neural network with just one hidden layer, that's not too bad. We'll do better throughout the course. I will try different techniques, but right now, again, it's good to understand your data visualization things, what's actually going on under the hood. So let's take a look at some of those misclassified images and get more of a gut feel of how good or bad our model really is. Let's take a look at some examples of images that it did not classify correctly and see just how forgivable those errors are. So that's what this function is doing. Basically, we are going through 200 images that were known to be incorrect, taking a look at the actual predicted value there by taking argmax on the output array there of the output neural layer and comparing that to the known correct levels. And if it is not correct, we will print it out with the original level and the predicted level to get an idea of what's happening here. Shift enter. So these are some pretty messy examples. In this example we knew that this guy was trying to draw a file. We thought it was a sixth. I can understand that. I mean, that's a really nasty looking 5, and that's a pretty good case here to say that was actually a 6. So that's case where your human brain could not actually probably do a whole lot better. I would got guess. I just looks like a squiggle. This one to our best guess from my model was a 6. The person intended for that does not look like a 4 to me. I mean, looks like half of a 4 basically. Like, I don't know what happened to the guys. But again, this lets you appreciate just how well it's doing or not. This one I am not sure how our model thought that was a 7. Again, that's a very weird looking 6, but then look like a 7 either. Anyway, that one also kind of a nasty one, looks like a 2 to the brain. It's really funny, squeezed, odd looking 2, but this is an example of where your brain does a better job than our simple neural network. But overall, these are largely forgivable errors, and ones where I messed up were some pretty weird, messy examples like that. What is that? I guess it's supposed to be a 2, we guessed. I could actually see that going on. So not too bad, guys. Anyway, if you want to play with it, I encourage you to do so. See if you can improve upon this. So like we talked about, there is a lot of different hyperparameter here to play with the learning rate. How many hidden neurons do we have? And so try to have values, try different learning rates, try more neurons, less neurons, see what to do. That I just play around with it, because in the real world that's what you have to do. Try adding a second hidden layer even, or a different batch sizes or a different numbers. Just get our hands dirty and get a good gut feel of how those different parameters affect the output and the final result that you get. So give it a shot.